Hey, good morning, everybody. We're back at it again, Marinna and we have some wonderful topics to share with you today. First, I will tell you that my goal from the last couple of years is to help people with mental health wellness or awareness. And Marinna and I kind of found our two interests coming together, and I love doing videos with Marinna because I learned so much in each video. And I'm finding out that as we learn about mental health and mental awareness and wellness, it's kind of from within. It's not other people around us so much. It has to do with us, our own relationship with ourselves. So we are going to talk about fear, respect, safety, and trust. And yay, I am excited about this. Let's talk about fear first, because that is so common. You cannot show me one person that doesn't deal with fear. Like, I'm sure you deal with fear, even though I really look up to you. You know, you're in a neat spot.
Deal with lots of fear, but I want to just say, hey, everybody, and welcome to our video. I'm excited about these topics. These are big topics. These are like we're chunking them all together and we'll be able to talk about them, but I could imagine people have a lot of questions. So please, if questions come up during this, type them in the YouTube and we'll get back with you and answer your questions, because these are some big topics we're about ready to cover. Fear, respect, safety, and trust.
Yes.
These are big and juicy and fun to talk about.
I love them. I love them.
Fear.
Every one of them.
You want to talk about fear first?
Oh, yeah. Yes. It is something that every human, and it's a good thing to have fear. I feel like we were designed perfect, and we were designed to have the fear. That's what keeps us alive, probably, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm
But
concerned.
it also, if we have too much fear, it seems like then our mental health struggles, and it just pulls us down into this vortex of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on fear?
So fear, let's see, where do I want to start with fear? Fear's a big one. So oftentimes when we go into fear, we go into our fight or flight brain, right? And we either fight. So this is really drama, right? We're really talking about drama when we talk about fear. Is something happens, that a fear gets ignited, and then we go into a place where we're in our fight or flight brain. Maybe we've held our breath, maybe we're breathing shallowly, right? And it pops us into that fear part of our brain, or that animalistic part of our brain, and we have access to only four things, and that's excuse me, I'm calling them four: fight, flee, faint, or freeze.
Okay.
So those are the things we have access to when we're in fear, typically. So then the idea is to start breathing. Once we can start breathing, then we can include more parts of our brain into the equation. Because especially like years and years and years ago, when we were like living with the animals out in the wild, we probably needed a lot more of this fight or flight brain. Like, okay, I've either got to kill this tiger that's chasing me, or I've got to run from it, right? Like, we needed to do those things, and those were very important things. It's just now we're not living with tigers anymore, right? We're living with our spouse and our children. And yeah, we get triggered, and those triggers create the same sort of a process in our brain as if a tiger. It's like, oh no, now I'm seeing my partner as a tiger, out to kill me, out to hurt me, out to get me, right? And so then we go into our fight or flight. And the problem with this is that we are oftentimes or the average human is in fight or flight most of the time, which is very stressful for our nervous system.
Yes, and it's stressful for our relationships around us.
It's massively stressful for our relationships.
Yeah, that fight or flight thing is no way of truly connecting with other humans.
Yeah. And this boils down to our relationship with fear. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to see everything as a relationship. Like, my relationship to fear is going to make or break my relationships, right, with people. So it's like, can I have a relationship with fear where when that fear comes in, I'm not, first off, not looking at it as bad, as wrong, You know what I mean? Society's like,
Mhm.
some of society, it's starting to change now, thank goodness, but it has been in the past like, get rid of that fear, get rid of that fear, conquer that fear. It's something
Mhm.
that's an enemy is our fear, and
Okay.
it's not an enemy, right? And so it's a relationship we have, and we're never going to get away from fear as long as we're in this physical form. I don't imagine that we'll ever not have fear. So we
So
might as
what do you
well learn
do?
how to live with fear in a way that really serves, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say the very first thing, always, 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 is breathe. Breathe. And what people will notice when they get into fear is that they've contracted their body. Their body's like, right? Because we're bracing ourselves for
Mm.
either a fight or for a run. And then when we contract our body, we tend to hold our breath, or we raise our breath up into our chest and breathe very shallowly so that we can kick in the adrenaline so that we can do what is
Mm.
necessary, right? So the
Mm.
first thing you want to do is breathe, and breathe slowly down into your belly. That's my first suggestion. However, if the fear's big, that's going to be pretty hard to do to slow your breath down. So you can also give voice to fear. You
Right.
can
Right.
match the fear with a body movement. You can match the fear with a sound. You can scream, you can get big, you can express that fear. And when you do that, that's so so powerful. Super super powerful to express it.
Mm. So it almost feels like when you contract because of fear, your life kind of pulls in and tight and doesn't go. It isn't a flow anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
There's also
so
nothing wrong with contraction. So I don't want to give people the idea that I'm saying contraction's bad either. Contracting your body is not necessarily bad. In fact, one of the ways you can move through this is by contracting your body even more. Like exaggerate
hmm,
the contraction, right? So let's say you're dealing with a fear in a relationship. Like maybe you just had a conversation with somebody and now oh no, oh no, oh no, this person is not going to like me anymore, or they're not going to want to be in relationship with me anymore, right? They're going to push me out of their life, whatever's going
mhm,
on. And you notice that contraction in your body, you can get even more contracted, like tighten up in a really teeny tiny ball and hold your breath, right? And hold
mm,
it and hold it and hold it as long as you can possibly hold it, and then release it. That is also a giving voice to the fear that's going on in your
mm.
body.
That's interesting.
'Cause our body,
Match.
when we're in fear, it naturally wants to contract, right? So sometimes if we can go with that contraction, that will also make a big difference. So
I love
people
it.
who've dealt with anxiety, I know we've talked about anxiety a little bit, but people who've
Yeah.
dealt with anxiety, this is when they're in the throes of an anxiety attack or whatever, these are the pieces that I pull out. I'll either have them tighten everything and curl up in a little teeny ball for as long as they want, even sometimes hiding under a blanket, right? Hiding
Mhm,
under a blanket, tightening in a ball, curling all up, right? Until they're ready to like release it. And that gives voice
mhm,
to it. Or I will have them throw a big fit, like scream, holler, tantrum, right? Because both of them give voice to the fear.
mm. Wow.
And
Very good. Very good.
it's like a way to honor the fear.
Instead, get rid of it. Get rid of
Instead
it.
of yeah, instead of getting rid of it, because fear's not bad, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but it's not bad.
I think giving voice to it has helped me many times. Like with there's going to be moms that'll watch this video and I'll tell you what, the most fears I've ever had was with little kids, raising little kids. I'm done with that phase of my life, but I notice other young moms dealing with fear. But I think giving voice to it and saying, yeah, I'm scared about the baby picking something up off the floor and choking and and I think you're right. I think that some fear is actually very helpful but how to have it in proportion, I think is what I would be looking for.
Yes, absolutely. And because sometimes our fears, especially when we're not conscious of them, can debilitate us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the reason it debilitates us is because we don't have access to our whole brain. We only have access to the fight or flight parts of our brain. So when we start breathing, when we give voice to the fear, then we can have access to our full brain again. And then we can make the choices that are really going to benefit that child or the home or whoever's in it, you know what I mean? Ourselves, whatever's going on, we can really make those choices. But if we don't have access to our brain, we're going to make choices that don't always serve us. Sometimes they'll
Right.
serve, like if we need to get the kid out of the street really fast because a
Right.
car's coming,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's one thing. But
Yeah.
if it's a relationship dynamic and we're in the fight or flight, if it's something we're doing with our kid that we're only perceiving as dangerous that isn't necessarily dangerous, right? Like something like that. If we can breathe and express the fear and feel the fear and all those things, then we can bring ourselves back into our whole brain and have access to all the parts of our brain and actually make conscious choices.
Right. So when we're in fight or flight or fear, which ends up kind of being fight or flight, then our brains are not, they don't expand to solve any problems. So
Right.
if you're in a conversation or you're having issues with the relationship and you're fearful and you're trying to work through it, chances of you coming to a resolution or working through that are really low
Yep.
if fear is the main emotion,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep. So long as you are in your fight or flight, it's going to be challenging. Like you can totally be in a space of fear and be open in your energy, have felt the fear, embraced the fear. Like it's still there. I'm still feeling fear, but I'm flowing so much in my body that I also have access to my full brain, so I can make those choices, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is going to make the fear go away. This is just going to give you more access to yourself while you're in fear.
Mm, true, true. So I think I just made this connection in my brain when I was raising my oldest my oldest children. Then I remember feeling like, darn it, they don't respect me. And I think that when I was in fear, I think that thought would go through my head, fear of them
Mm.
not respecting me, a fear of maybe losing control. But I remember respect was also, um, and that is something else that we're going to talk about. But it felt like that went hand in hand.
Mm.
You know,
Like,
my fear.
yeah, like you were in fear and then made up a story or had a story that your children should respect you. And if
Yeah.
they didn't respect you, then maybe you were also afraid you weren't being a good mom.
Okay. So the fear of not being respected, because that's our next topic that we're going to talk about. The fear of not being respected is really the fear of discovering that I'm not a good mom.
Yeah, so it's isn't it amazing how all of it just boils down to our stories? And if you're
Yeah,
not a good mom, then what does that mean about you, right? And you can literally boil all that down to your core story.
something's wrong with me.
Yep, something's
Yeah,
wrong with me, right?
yeah,
Something's wrong with me. So now I got to parent in the most perfect way. And how I will know that I've parented in the best way is if my children respect me,
yeah.
right? So then when
Right.
they don't, it triggers that fear.
That's really
It
the core
triggers that
story.
core story.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Mm,
And this is way more than just respect. This is just the way, you might have done it or I might have done it, but there's so many
yeah,
other things that people place on raising their children or having a relationship, so much meaning that we put on there, and it really all boils down to our own fears of not being good enough or there's something wrong with me. Yeah.
so true.
And we're
So,
back to that core again.
yeah, so true. And in my class, when we were talking about respect, I said, is it possible for us adults to demand respect, either at work or at home with our kids or grandkids? And everybody laughed. And it felt like to me, the word demand respect means you're already down in the drama triangle and you're already kind of just like posed,
That's
as far
awesome.
as demanding respect.
Did your
Because I
class,
don't,
were they able to see that?
yeah, yeah. We had fun with that because it truly, if I walked up to you and demanded you to respect me,
I know. And you
you know,
could threaten me, right? You could
right,
even
right,
threaten me with my life or threaten me to take away a freedom or threaten me. But is that really respect or is that fear?
right, right.
Right? So
Yeah,
many people throughout the ages have tried to demand respect. And I don't think it's respect. I think it's fear they're demanding.
right.
Fear
I
of us,
think so
right?
too.
Yeah, of us
So too.
bowing down and doing whatever they want us to do. That's not
Yeah,
respect. I think we've had kind of a misconstrued understanding of what respect actually is.
Oh, so true. So true. And I feel like that the safety thing and the trust thing is so intertwined with this respect, because I feel like that if you have the respect, safety, and trust as a human or as a parent, you don't deal with the fear as much. You don't deal with, you have trust, that you have respect for the individuals, and then you show them maybe a safe space, so that they learn to trust you, and you don't have to wrap it all in fear in your parenting. I feel like these things we're talking about, respect, safety, and trust, have so much to do with parenting. Well, regardless whether we're reparenting ourselves or actual in the throngs of parent. So how does safety, what is your definition of safety, and how does that relate to parenting?
I think what I want to do is I want to talk about something first, just before it's not that I don't want to dive into this, but I want to lay a foundation, right, for
Okay.
all of these. Okay. For all these topics we're discussing today, there's one really, really important thing, and we've got to have it for ourselves first, right? So we talk about the respect,
Yeah.
we talk about the safety that we're looking for from others, right? And we talk about trusting other people. We have to have those in place for ourselves first before we're ever going to have it with other people. So let's take respect, since that's our first topic.
Okay.
Um, we've got to be able to if we respect ourselves, right?
We're not going to demand respect.
We're not going to demand respect from other people. We're not going to need it from other people because we already have it, right? We only demand things we don't have,
Wow. Yeah.
or that we think we don't have,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Um, so if we can practice respecting ourselves, which of course ties into how we perceive ourselves in the relationship with ourselves, and can we trust ourselves, right? Can we trust
Exactly.
ourselves to have our own back? If we're constantly selling out our everything with our wishes, our desires, our goals, our for everybody else, if we're constantly sacrificing everything within ourselves for somebody else, then we're running on an empty bucket. And are we really going to trust ourselves? Are we really going to respect ourselves? Are we really going to
Mm-mm.
appreciate ourselves? Are we any of that? Like, it
Mm-mm.
comes directly from this relationship that we have with ourselves. Can I trust myself to stay present with myself and to do what works for me? And when
Right.
I can do that for this relationship that I have here, I'm going to easily and naturally do it for the relationships I have over there.
Oh, I'm so glad you went back to respect and got to the heart of it, because that actually was the best part of our class, is getting to the heart of each one of these things. And
Yes.
it did. Respect started from within. Do you not respect yourself? If I come up to you and I'm like, I'm just so mad, nobody respects me.
Yeah. Or I've had a lot of relationship um, couples come to me, right? And one or the other will say, why can't I get my wife to respect me? Why won't she respect me? Right? And it's just like, well, you don't respect yourself, because that's the mirror you're calling forth. And whether that wife is respecting you or not, you couldn't see it because you're not respecting yourself. So you
Yeah.
may have everybody around you respecting you, loving you, supporting you, and you can't see it because you're not doing it for yourself.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so then you're starving for it and you're demanding it, and that's not respect. You're still not going to get respect
Yeah.
because you haven't
Yeah.
given it to yourself.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. And it all boils from the inside. We generate it. We generate our own self-respect.
Yes. And
Yeah.
this is literally how we create safety for ourselves, right? So
Yeah.
in our society, and even in like this whole self-awareness, new age, whatever you want to call it, right? In this world specifically, there's been a lot of um safety talk, right? Where people will be
Yeah, I don't feel
like,
safe around
I don't
you.
feel safe around you, so therefore
Yeah.
I'm not going to share, or I don't feel
Some
safe in this group. This group doesn't make me feel safe.
So my boundaries are none of you guys need to come around me or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
so then I
Okay.
got to have these boundaries because nobody
Yeah.
else is respecting my space enough so I can feel safe enough to be able to share my wisdom with you. You know what I mean? Like there's this really unhealthy relationship with safety. One of the things that I really appreciated that I got to learn at the Hendricks Institute with Gay and Katie Hendricks, and that is the safety piece. They were like, it's your responsibility to feel safe. They did not cater to any of us if we were feeling insecure, if we were feeling uncomfortable. It's like, no, you signed up to being a part of this group, and you're going to take 100% responsibility for how safe you feel or how vulnerable you feel and what you're going to do about it, because nobody here is going to rescue you, right? And
Dang.
it was vulnerable at times to be in this group of like 50 people, and some of
Yeah.
them have been there longer, and all the family dynamics start showing up, right? Like where I sit with my own family and how I relate with my own family, and some of the kids are liked better than me, and some of them bigger talkers than me, and how do I include myself? And it was literally like placing me in my family only with a teacher, somebody who could facilitate the whole thing,
Nice.
which was really nice. But
Nice.
but I learned really early on that my safety had to do with me and nobody else. And if I was ever going to get to the point where I could share my voice in the space of the room, that had nothing to do with whether somebody else was going to make fun of me, whether somebody else was going to like or approve of what
Mm.
I said, or whether the teacher was going to correct me in front of everybody, or you know what I'm saying. And so I learned during that 2 years that I am the source of my own safety. I
Ooh.
source my safety, nobody else does.
You
I
don't
don't need
outs.
anybody else to show up in any specific way to source my own safety. That's my responsibility,
Wow.
right?
So let me ask you a question. If you're touring New York in the night and you are, walking down the street by yourself, um, would safety look like you tuning in and being present so you know when to turn, when to walk the other way, and when to do what? Is that your safety?
That is
Creating
also
your
safety.
safety?
Yes, that is also creating my safety. First off, it's literally starts with learning how to trust yourself, right? Or how
Uh,
to, yeah, how to respect yourself enough, how to honor yourself, how to trust yourself. Like all these topics are so intertwined, right?
yeah.
Um, if I trust myself enough to listen for my own safety instead of relying on somebody else, right? So let's say being female, maybe I have a husband, right? And I've always relied on him to protect me. But then when I'm alone, I don't know how to do it for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Plus, I'm
Yeah.
putting my life completely in his hands to make whatever decisions for me that's going to either
Yeah.
be my life or death. You know what I'm saying? And I think we give our power away to other people
Mhm.
all the time
We do.
in many
It's
different
convenient.
ways. Even, and
Mhm.
this is a physical form of safety, right? But even in the physical form of safety, can we trust ourselves enough to listen, to be aware? Because our body will tell us when we're in danger. We have
Yeah, it
natural,
does.
this is the gift of fear, right? Is that we have such an innate wisdom within us. If we will listen, we will know when something feels off, when something feels
Yeah.
dangerous, when something feels like, yeah, I need to not go out on the street today. Yeah,
It
I need
almost
to
is
stay
a
home.
when I notice inspiration or fear about something, I think it's different. It's more like inspiration. It's just a feeling, a subtle feeling. It's not like, oh, my heart rate. That to me is a different kind of fear,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Um, but that knowing, hey, I need to just hop in my car and drive off,
Yeah, that was a very good distinction, Janet.
just feels like it's your intuition that you're being present with. So this is a really neat thing for I was one of those kind of women that my husband drove better in the cities. I didn't like going on I found myself not liking going on trips without him because he always did all the things and gassed up the car and all that stuff. Well, one day I needed to go on a trip and go take care of my kids in Idaho that had COVID. And I loaded up my all my goodies and all my stuff in the car and I headed out, and that was a 24-hour trip or something, driving straight through. And I had the time of my life because I felt trust. I felt
Mhm.
trust for myself for the first time. Like, I
Wow.
did not dip into the fear. I mean, every now and again when I was driving through some of those big cities, in Denver, and there's a couple different turns that you have to really watch out for. I I took care of myself and I was safe. When I got tired, if I felt sleepy, I would pull over at a place that didn't look too shady and get some sleep in the parking lot and then carry on. And it felt so powerful.
Mhm.
So I think forever out of convenience, I just, hey, you drive. You don't, yeah, you do so
Right.
well. Why don't you drive? But I think it feels so good to challenge yourself and make yourself safe in situations, you
Yes, yes,
know?
yes, and know that you can do that for yourself.
Yeah,
Know that
yeah.
you're not so reliant on another human being.
Right, right. And that
Right.
I'll be inspired if something happens, if a tire goes flat or whatever, I'll be inspired, and the right person will come by and have the tools or the help that I need, so
Right.
letting
Right.
go of that fear and learning to trust myself and have my own safety, my own back was
Mhm.
very powerful.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, this I love that you brought up the physical aspect of safety. Like I
Yeah.
don't think about the physical aspect near as much just because I'm in the world of energy, right? And talking about emotion and all this kind of stuff with people so much. And so that's where my brain goes. So I'm glad you brought up the physical one because it does play a big role.
Yeah, especially with women. Like, I was explaining to my husband the other day because we were talking about how the safety, not feeling safe. And I told him that there's many times that I'll be walking in a building that you have to walk down a hallway to get to a restroom or something that's dark. And my immediate response is heart palpitations and looking around and just kind of checking my surroundings if I'm alone.
Mhm.
And I said, do you ever feel that way? And he said, no, I just go find the bathroom. And so, there's and that I might be overboard, nervous about those kinds of things where I could like kind of mellow that out into just listening to my own tuition and being calmer and stuff. But literally, I think speaking to the women that are watching this video, your physical safety maybe doesn't come as easy as a male's physical
Mhm.
safety,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure they've done tests and fear for their safety for a woman is very much greater than it is for a man.
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah.
that this is much bigger for women for sure. Well, let's dive a little bit more into the emotional safety, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's the same principle for both the physical and the emotional safety is like being in charge of your emotional safety and having let's see how I can say this. So there's a couple of different ways. Like you could go out and you could say I'm the source of my own safety, so I'm going to share everything whatever I want with whoever I want, which is your right to do
Yeah.
that. Just
Yeah.
know that there's going to be people that approve and people that don't approve and people who are going to be mean and people who are going to be nice and all this kind of stuff, right? And my suggestion is to have your own back, right? Go, who do I want to be close with? That's who I share vulnerably with, right?
Okay.
Who
Yeah.
and not let it stop you. Not let just because you might be afraid somebody's going to disagree with you. That's pretty
Mm.
controlling. Like you can allow yourself to be very controlled by who's going to like you and who's going to not like you. So
Or who's going to
stretch.
agree with you?
Who's going
Who's
to
going to
agree with
disagree?
you?
Right.
Exactly. Right? Like you can go, well, I don't feel safe in this, so I'm not going to share. Well, now it's controlling you. Can you
Hmm.
can you authentically share vulnerably and choose who you share vulnerably with, not out of a place of fear of being liked or disliked or approved of or disapproved of, right? Can you share going, is this the best place for me to share this vulnerability? Or is it not the best place? from a completely different, not from the core story, right? Oh, this person's not going to like me, and then they're going to see all my da, 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 da,
Mhm.
da, 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 right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it
Absolutely.
might be beneficial for me to share sometimes with people who are going to disagree with me, right?
Mhm.
It might be
Mhm.
beneficial. And do I have that freedom? Do I have that freedom? Am I really truly in charge of my own safety? Or am I letting the world outside of me determine and depict whether I'm safe or not to share?
And babysit you.
Mhm.
So
Why people tend to not share anything and everything around anybody. And I'm not saying it's good to always share anything and everything, but the main reason people don't is because it triggers their core story. Period. It
yeah,
triggers them. And they can't trust themselves to stay present with themselves even in the big emotion.
through
And
the trigger.
they don't, through the trigger, and so they don't want to share. I do this, I still do this.
Yeah. So
Still learning.
so you said something a long time ago that kind of it just rings in my brain is I hope I trigger you, and I hope you can stay with yourself while you think about it and
Oh,
feel
I
into
love
it.
it.
You
Yes, I
know,
love it.
but there's so many times, like with women, when maybe if I took a class and somebody was going to tell a story that was really could be triggering, could cause other women in the same room to be triggered. Um, if I have my own back and it gets to be too much for me, I quietly leave.
Yeah.
It's okay. I
Yeah.
don't expect everybody to stop talking.
Right.
So
Right.
walking through it, walking through it's another step. Sitting there and just feeling what there is to feel that's triggering you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's such a balance between learning how to share vulnerably with whoever you're in front of and being authentic, and also having the wisdom to recognize who to share everything with
Yeah.
and who not to share everything with. Like it's a real balance. And it really, I think, a lot can reflect upon your own relationship with yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If
Right.
I have a relationship with myself well enough that I know how to listen, I'll know, do I need to share this vulnerable piece with this person, even if they disagree with me? Or, oh, do I need to keep my mouth shut in this moment?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Because
Right.
this isn't going to serve.
So are you saying that it's not always good to be vulnerable wherever you go
Yes.
and just let it all,
Yes.
you
I'm
know,
saying it's not always a positive to be vulnerable everywhere you go,
yeah,
but to be able to be solid enough in yourself and stay with yourself enough that you could be if you needed to be
or wanted to be?
or wanted to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have this class I've been teaching. I have loved getting to know them deeper and connecting with them deeper by all of us being vulnerable,
Yes.
in that class. And I'm making connections with them that I wouldn't normally make with them. And I
Mhm.
think they're making connections with each other that they normally wouldn't have. And I love it. It's just been so rich. But yeah, I think that there is a time and a place that you can share and share deeply
Mhm.
and be closer to the people around you.
For sure. Vulnerability connects. It just
Yeah.
does. If you share vulnerably with other people who are open, not somebody who's going to
Deeply.
chop your head off, right, for being
Yeah.
vulnerable. That doesn't create
Yeah.
closeness. But if you can be vulnerable in your relationships, the close relationships with people, right, or friends, uh, it bonds. It
Yeah.
bonds.
So if a person was saying, I don't dare share that with my spouse, I don't think that they would understand. Is that kind of coming from within? Maybe they don't understand themselves,
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
I don't
Exactly.
think I understand what I'm dealing with,
Yeah. Why are you in a relationship? The closest relationship that you can have if you can't be vulnerable in that relationship. What the heck are you doing there?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
This is
right.
the closest relationship you'll have, and you don't feel safe enough to feel vulnerable. You don't have your own back.
Yeah, yeah,
It has nothing to do
absolutely.
with them. You don't have your own back.
That's right.
Right? And if
That's
you're afraid they're going to abuse you over that, what the heck are you doing there, allowing yourself to be abused in the first place?
yeah,
Right? You're abusing
right,
yourself. It's
right.
amazing how life is just a mirror for
It is.
everything we're doing to
Uh,
ourselves. right? And
Oh,
so when we have our own back to that degree, we're going to trust ourselves. And it's going to be 1,000 times easier to be vulnerable when you trust yourself to have your own back.
yeah. Wow. So true. And it all just goes together. You have more as you trust yourself and you keep yourself safe, you have more respect for yourself. It just kind of, instead of the drama triangle, I think that there's this
I
self,
love it. The
I think there's
essence
this,
triangle.
yeah, a self-awareness or yeah, an
Yeah.
essence triangle or that's
Oh, I
fun. I love
love
that.
it, Janet. That's so cool.
Wow. Because these components are all so intertwined,
Mhm.
you know.
They really, really are. And then so let's take it to the next step, right? Like people oftentimes will demand trust, right? We
Yeah,
talked about the people
yeah.
demanding respect, but what about trust, right? People demand us to trust them or trust me, right? And then we just go, okay, here, you've stepped all over my heart 20,000 times, but okay, here, right? And
Yeah.
it's this
Yeah.
exact same principle. Trust is earned.
Hmm.
Trust is earned. And if
And
you
you
have your own back and you're respecting yourself and you're listening, you're not going to just trust anybody. You're not
right,
going to
right.
blindly trust people because trust is earned.
I think if you blindly trust people, it's because you're not connected to self. You're not coherent, or your relationship with you is not fine-tuned if you can just trust anybody and everybody, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and then therefore you expect other people to keep you safe
Mhm.
and to respect you. Yeah, that's so
And to
true. And
speak
then
and to speak to you just right and to treat you just perfect how you want to be treated, right? And you expect it all from out there to
and
come
then
to
you'll
you.
respect yourself once everybody else does, you will.
Yeah. It's really backwards. It's
Yeah.
really backwards. You'll get it from other people when you do it for yourself. Period.
I love when somebody shows that and they acknowledge and they give you appreciation. And it's just like, okay, cool. I mean, that's already how I felt, but that's nice to hear it from other people.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it. Like you're not waiting for it and expecting and demanding it, but when you do hear it, it's like, oh, sweet, thank you. You
It
know,
becomes extra, huh?
yeah, extra. Yep, that
Yes.
extra.
This
Yeah.
this analogy that I'm going to share with you came through several times this week. So I'm going to share it, right? Imagine being really, really, really hungry for food, right?
Mhm.
And you don't know how to feed yourself. And so somebody comes up to you and they say, "Oh, here's a little bit of food." What are you going to do? You're going to be like, "Oh, this person is the source of food. Now this person needs to always be feeding me, right?" And we do this kind of this grabby, energetic, grabby thing towards this
Expectation.
person, right? Because we
Mhm.
don't know that we can feed ourselves,
Yeah.
right? And so we're always looking for everybody else, and maybe we even feel entitled with it, like, well, gosh, you're my husband, so you should be giving me approval, you should be protecting me, you should be respecting me, you should be feeding me, right? When and there's so much there. It's like, first off, that's such an opposite way of doing a relationship if you want the connection that we all want, right? The love, the connection, the togetherness. Such a backwards way because they're going to feel disrespected. They're not going to feel appreciated. They're going to feel pushed away. It's repulsive energy to be,
Yeah.
what was the word I used?
Needy.
Entitled.
Entitled.
Entitled,
Uh-huh.
needy is very
Yeah.
repulsive energy.
Right.
It pushes everybody away. But if we can go give those things to ourselves, if we can feed ourselves the food we really truly want, then everything that we get from everybody else is extra.
The
So
bonus.
somebody this week asked me, they're like, "But it feels so good to have somebody else feed you." And I said, "That's because you're starving. That's the only reason it feels that good is because you're so desperate for it."
You've allowed yourself to run on a low tank.
Right. You have allowed it. That's the
Yeah.
key point, right?
Right.
You
Right.
have allowed yourself to get super, super hungry.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
then you need crumbs from other people to live.
So true.
right?
So
But when we
true.
give it to ourselves and we fill our own empty bucket up or our empty stomach or whatever it is, right? When
Yeah.
we fill it up, then we're full and then we don't sell ourselves out just to get it from somebody else. Then we don't
Wow.
prostitute ourselves.
Right. Exactly.
Literally what we're doing.
Expectations.
We're
Yes.
prostituting ourselves to get a little love.
When we could generate it from within.
I know, and it's so easy.
Sustainable energy.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
word used with it, Janet. That's beautiful.
I have a quote from Gay Hendricks that I saw that kind of caught my eye. And it says, the highest goal of spirituality is self-realization.
Mm,
You know, that brings an essence of spirituality to a person, as they realize their own, that these things are all coming from within.
yeah.
It just feels so right and so complete.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But how can you have them come from within if you never look within?
Yeah.
If you never face what's in within, right? If you never present with what's in, if you never feed yourself,
So true.
right?
So
If you're
true.
always looking to somebody else, how are you going to ever fully know yourself if you're always giving your power away, always looking to somebody else to feed you?
Good point. Good point. I love learning about this. I have felt the power of building the relationship from within. And I felt it ooze out too. I mean, it's like I see the changes that I'm making by learning about the different things that will make my relationship better with me.
I know, isn't it great?
So cool.
Oh
So
my
cool.
goodness. It's like an ever expanding level of confidence and security and
Yeah.
love. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
so rewarding, so
It is.
rewarding.
It is. And it
And it
feels
feels like
right.
there's always new levels that are opening up, right? At least that's
Right.
how it's been for me,
Yeah.
right? I continue
Yeah.
to keep opening up all these new levels, and I'm like going, there's even more. There's even
Yeah.
more. There's even more, my
Yeah.
goodness.
So I'm at the point where I like visiting with people like you and other people, other friends that I have that we can discover new levels, but you do it on your own, don't you? Don't you meditate and learn on your own these
I
new
do.
levels?
I do, but
Mm.
I also learn a lot through my clients and learn a lot
Okay.
through conversations. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like we've talked about so much. The person who's teaching is the one that learns the most. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Absolutely.
And oftentimes what happens is I'll be sitting coaching somebody or supporting somebody, right? And the inspiration comes down through me and it's just as much for me as it is for them. And I'm like, oh, that
Mm.
was so good. Thank you. I needed that today.
I
you
love
know,
it.
it's
Yeah,
fabulous.
absolutely. That is so cool.
Yeah.
And I love that you're getting your website, your guruwithin.com up and going. And
Yes, yes, yes. It's not ready. If somebody goes there, they're going to see some stuff, but it's not finished yet. But it's getting close. I should have it finished in the next probably few weeks. That's my goal
so
is
is
to
it
have it
is
finished.
it the YouTube that you're working on with Guru Within?
Yes, so the YouTube that I'm doing both the YouTube that's the Guru Within Academy, and then
Okay.
my website that's the Guru Within Academy, right? And it'll be two different things. So the YouTube will have all these types of videos where people can just
Yeah.
access whatever they want to, right?
Yeah.
And it's more conversations. The Academy, I'm literally going in and teaching step by step by step by step. And that will be on my website. And I'm doing it through video and audio and handouts and almost like going in and taking an online course, right? So
Ooh.
that's what my website's going to be about. And that also you're going to be able to access coaches and different resources, products that I'm developing currently, that type of thing from my website.
Ooh, why don't you talk about those cards? Is this a good time to do that?
I'll
I
briefly
love
talk about
those.
it. I'll
Those
briefly
look
talk about
good.
it unless you want to do a whole video another time.
I do want to another time, but you could even mention
Okay,
those.
I'll mention them right now. I'll
Okay.
show them off to people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm thinking it probably flips it around, but it says money relationship. Can you see that, Janet? Does it say
Yeah,
it
I can
right?
see that.
Okay, good.
Money relationship.
Money relationship question magic deck. Okay, so these are some cards that I developed to assist people with their entire money relationship. So in each card, we'll have like a question. You can't see it super well, but
Yeah, I
we'll
can't
have
see
a
the question.
and I've taken all my experience, my own journey with money, and literally put it in a box, right? So
Yeah.
we go over like information, like money awareness, right? Any kind of awareness that I might have around the way I'm doing relationship with money. And then I also, in the cards, invite you to actually have a conversation with money and ask money questions, like as if money was a separate person than you, right? And you sit it down and you have that conversation with money. And then I also have a lot of question affirmations, which are just questions you put out there to call forth,
Yeah.
magic into your life. And then I have like a
Oh,
question prayer, excuse me, a money prayer, a money clearing, so that you can clear anything that needs to not be there, like agreements and things you made to poverty. You know what I'm saying?
you
So
know,
there's a
this
whole
is,
money in a box.
I speak to do that video with you because that is one of my that has to do with my core story, that there's
Okay,
not enough.
right.
And I've created that lack off and on. I feel like I'm doing way better than I ever used to with my relationship with money, but I will do that video with you. I'm
Okay,
so
yeah, let's do
excited
the
about
video,
that.
and maybe by the time we get that video done, I will share with people how they can actually buy one of
Yes.
these decks.
Yes. So this, I just wanted people to know what's coming down the
Yeah.
plank. I'm
Yeah,
so
I just
excited
I
about
just
them.
got these like 2 days ago. They came in the mail and I was so excited to see them. So, yeah,
So
let's show them
cool.
off a little
Yay.
bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think, Marinna, that it would be cool to end with a wonder question that had to do with, if you can, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot and stuff, but you're very creative. And what if we ended with a wonder question that had to do with respect, safety, and trust?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
I want to write it down
It
so that when
is.
I post this video, I'll post that wonder
Oh,
question
I
with.
love it. Good idea. Okay, I'm just gonna tune into this and see what question wants to flow through me right now. What would it take for me to have the type of a relationship where safety, love, and respect for myself was naturally abundant? There's more I want to add to this. So it's like,
What would it take for me
yeah,
to
read
have?
that back to me, would you?
Okay, what would it take for me to have a type of relationship where
Love, trust, and respect. Okay, here's how I want to say it. What would it take for me to have a relationship with myself in such a way that love, trust, and respect were natural and were my automatic go to or something like that? And then I want to add another question. And how might this truly serve the world?
oh,
Right? Like,
okay.
how might this actually be my purpose for being here, kind of a thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how might this propel me forward into the world or the life I was truly meant to be living here? Right? How could this
Oh,
impact like so many people's lives all around me? Me being me. The come from the mindset that society has had for so many eons. It's not so much now, it's getting better, but that is that if I focus on me, that's selfish, right?
yes.
It's actually the opposite. When I focus on me and really learning me and loving this relationship, the relationship I can now have with other people is so much greater, so much greater. The gift I can be in the world is so much greater.
You know, I think we've overused the term of loving yourself. And I think with these techniques that you talk about, it's so much deeper. It's like loving your soul,
Mm,
not loving my brown eyes or my shapely woman woman shape or my whatever, my long legs, but loving my soul.
Yeah, and I would say it's about both, obviously. But I think the self-love journey in the world has always been around the loving the outside
Yeah,
or loving.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah, I think I can hear you. And this is deeper than that for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved how you said that, like loving your soul. It's like, can you love your shadow as much as your light?
yeah, yeah.
Right? Can you love all aspects of you? Because we definitely have them all.
Right.
And
Wow.
I'm not saying, well, hang on, how do I want to say this? What happens, because people will be like, well, if I love the shadow, then aren't I just going to be okay with being a judger or being mean to people? Or no, the opposite is true. When you can go and be present with your shadow and you can give your shadow love, it ceases to be your shadow.
Okay, so you're using the word shadow for the dark side of a person.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So that part of you that wants to take advantage of people, that part of you that wants to cut people out of
Yeah.
your life, the part of you that thinks everybody's an idiot,
That would rather lie than tell the truth.
the part of you that would rather lie than tell the truth, like your
Yeah,
shadow aspects.
yeah.
When I
Okay.
say, yeah, go love your shadow aspects, some people will look at me like, yeah, but doesn't that just give them permission to run amok?
Mm-mm,
But it's
mm.
actually the opposite here. When you go and be present with and love and see and embrace and look at and all this, they cease to be shadows. It's amazing. It's like a transformation occurs. It's only a shadow because you're not looking at it. You're not being with it. You're not being present with it. You're avoiding it. You're making it wrong. Right? It's only
So
a
same
shadow.
with addictions. This sounds like addictions recovery,
Yeah.
like dealing with it and not just pushing it away, but just having compassion for that aspect of humanness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. Yes, that's
Okay.
how we transform things. It's not
Yeah.
by pretending that it's not there or trying to force ourselves not to do it.
Or make it good or bad.
Make it good or bad. I've never been able to stop to quit any of my addictions by making them bad and wrong and trying to
Yeah.
avoid them and stop them at
Yeah.
all. It's
That's
quite the
right.
opposite. It's literally, I love the term shadow aspects because that's really the way that I see it now, right? It's like when you shine the light in on a shadow, it ceases to be a shadow.
Yeah, that's
The way we
right.
shine the light in there is to go and look.
Yeah,
you know?
that's so true. And see and feel and just be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we've had a wonderful time together. Of course,
We
I've
always
never made a
do.
video or visited with you that I didn't just learn so much and love it. It's just food for me.
Thank you.
So, and I know that the people that are going to be watching this are going to feel the same way. I appreciate it.
Thank you for receiving.
Thank you for giving.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing the dance between giving and receiving, like I was saying before, the teacher learns the most, right? Like I'm learning so much right now because of people like you willing to listen, willing to receive, willing to
And
let me share.
I'm always willing to ask the awkward questions or
Yeah.
try it.
So
So cool.
we all get to give and receive from ourselves and each other, and I love it.
Nice.
So,
I'm going to go listen to this video again and get the rest of that wonder question. I'm
hey,
excited.
thank you for doing that. I
All right.
appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Talk to you
Okay,
later.
thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us today. And
Yeah.
we'll see you next time. Maybe we'll talk about money next time.
Yes, I want to do that.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Hey, all right.
Yes.
See you later.